So, Cliff Kingsbury, you like to tell lies, do you, huh? You like to throw up little smoke screens and try to stop us from getting David Johnson out of lineups, huh? That's what you like to do, huh, Cliff Kingsbury? Is that what you like? I got a lot of thoughts about you, Cliff Kingsbury, on the pre-snap, and it starts right now.
585, ready.
You're listening to the PreSnap podcast, brought to you by LineStar, the top-rated DFS tool set and #1 companion for DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo Daily Fantasy. Go LineStar Premium now at LineStarApp.com. Now, here are your hosts, fantasy football experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.
Hey, yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and welcome to the pre-snap right here on the LineStar app. It's me, and it's Chris Meaney, and it's you, and unfortunately, it's also Cliff Kingsbury, who decided that, oh, David Johnson's going to play. He's going to play. It's going to be great. He's healthy. It's going to be fantastic. No, it's not going to be fantastic, and he didn't play, and Chase Edmonds played, and Chris Meaney, it ruined my weekend. It ruined my weekend and some of our listeners' weekends as well. I'm still mad. It's only 24 hours, and I'm still angry about it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm mad at a couple coaches today. Kingsbury's one of them. Matt Nagy's another one. But, I mean, we'll get into him in a little bit. We knew the upside of Chase Edmonds. Yeah, we just wanted to know. And to make matters worse, like the Arizona Cardinals Twitter account trolled us all by saying, you should have started Edmonds in your fantasy league or whatever. And then reports later on that Chase Edmonds, that DJ was really only going to get involved in certain aspects if they really needed him. Yeah, that would have been nice to know. And now today they're trying out running backs like J.J., I think, reportedly, and Spencer Ware. So obviously DJ wasn't even near 100%. There were some reports that he was out on the field practicing and he looked good. The ankle looked fine. And we know he's been dealing with a back injury. And that is the risk of playing. I mean, we'll take it with the whole lesson. I mean, Kingsbury did screw us over, but the whole lesson could be if you're a big-time cash game player, you should avoid running backs that are dealing with potentially back injuries. I don't even know what happened. But, Joe, I don't know. Did he suffer a setback? He played 3 snaps. He started the game. They must have thought he was
My
okay,
guess is
and then he plays.
The weather was not pleasant. Like, it was damp and cold. And if it's a back issue, my guess is it probably started to seize up on him. And he was like, you know what? This is not great. And that's fair. It's fair. Sure. Cliff Kingsbury's job is to win games, but it doesn't mean I can't rage about it. It doesn't mean I can't be mad about it. So I'm going to be mad about it because it's in my nature. I'm Italian. I'm angry about things, just generally speaking. So if I don't get mad about them here, in places like this, I just explode randomly. It's
fair. I'm mad too, and we would have all been on Chase Edmonds. We've been saying he's a top 10 running back for sure.
Yeah, we were on him last week.
Yeah, and I guess like if in your season long formats, I raised this question a couple weeks ago about him just being a flex play because of would you rather take 7 to 10 touches of Chase Edmonds in that offense or 10 to 15 touches of Joe Mixon in that Bengals offense? I think you take Chase Edmonds and shoot for that upside in the flex spot, but it's going to be confusing going down the stretch. We want DJ to be inactive so we can all be on Edmonds because Edmonds, he's really good, by the way.
He's terrific.
He's
I'm a big fan. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Edmonds. I want him to be good, but I mean, very frustrating day, that's for sure. In that same game, Evan Ingram, who should have carved them up because the freaking Cardinals are terrible against tight ends. No, Rhett Ellison gets the touchdown. Yeah, I mean, every bit of smart analysis, and we finally hit it. We've had some pretty good weeks, but we hit that wall here in the fantasy community at large, where all the good data you could just take it and throw it out the window. Like Aaron Rodgers has nobody left to throw the football to, and it's a complete crapshoot. So what does he do? He throws for 5 touchdowns and rushes for 1. So this was that week, and look, God bless Aaron Rodgers. It was a fantastic one for him, but it showed in the lineups too. It definitely showed where, some of the highest point totals that won big contests were less than what they usually are.
1.2% for Rodgers and the Millionaire Maker on FanDuel.
Right. I mean, that says it all. I mean, the winning number was 214 on FanDuel. That's not like the most earth-shattering number.
Yeah, I mean, Marvin Jones, you had to have Marvin Jones. If you had Marvin Jones, Rodgers, and Edmonds, which I was looking at the leader at the time in the Millionaire Maker on FanDuel, all 3 of those guys, 2% or fewer. I mean, you had a game, but it's tough to. It was you'd have to play multiple lineups to get off of David Johnson and roll out Chase Edmonds. But yeah, it was weird. And going over to another frustrating situation with the coach, like I don't even know if David Montgomery is a bad running back because he doesn't touch the field and he doesn't get any touches.
Oh God, can we?
You have
He's the
2
next
weeks.
one. It's
You have
time
2
to beat up on him.
weeks, Nagy, 2 weeks to game plan, and you give 7 rushing attempts. It's a franchise low in that. Check me if I'm wrong. The Bears have been around for a long, long time, and 2 of the rushing attempts were from wide receivers, Anthony Miller and Cordero Patterson. Montgomery gets his second carry in the third quarter, and he puts the ball on the ground. I mean, how is this happening? Tariq Cohen has 9 catches for 19 yards? It's really hard to do. Trubisky looks awful. They're 1-8 when he throws the ball at least 35 times. So what was your game plan? The Saints defense good, but that's another puzzling one to me is Matt Nagy and Trubisky. Just the Bears look really silly this morning trading up and looking back at that draft and passing on Watson.
Well, they traded up for Montgomery too. Like, why'd you trade up for him if you're not going to use him?
Exactly. I just don't get it.
You do 2 things. You play defense, you run the football. That's what the Bears do. That's what makes the Bears successful. Do those things.
Jordan Howard's top 10 last year in touches. He has the third most rushing yards the last 3 years, and they moved on from him for what? Why?
And you're right, Chris. I don't even know if David Montgomery's any good at this point because I don't get to see it on a weekly basis. Give him 20 carries a game. Let's get it going. Let's see. Maybe that'll help Mitch Trubisky or Mitchell Trubisky or wherever the hell he wants to call himself today. All I know is that the Bears fans have started a Kickstarter campaign to buy out his contract, which I thought was pretty funny. Like, honestly, of all the things I read this morning, that made me laugh out loud.
That's pretty
good. I, you know what? If they raise enough, I think he should leave.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's a game, you know what? If you're going to buy me out, go for it. That's what I say. Lots of other disappointing things too. Kyler Murray was a disappointment for sure. Yeah. Back-to-back Cooper Kupp disappointments. Oh my God. Now it's great that the Rams got right and all, but Cooper Kupp was just a massive amount of targets for like first 6 weeks or 5 weeks. And then all of a sudden it's gone in the toilet the last couple of weeks. And I'm just like staring around looking at trying to make things work. I don't get it. I mean, at least Leonard Fournette was pretty good, but still it was Dalvin Cook. It was Aaron Rodgers. It was Marvin Jones, who had a gazillion touchdowns. I mean, Marvin Jones' day was brilliant. I mean, 4 touchdowns for him, 10 catches, 93 yards against Minnesota. That's the way cookie crumbles, man. That was just a fantastic game for him. You won't get another one like it. But that was it. Yeah, if you had him, good job by you.
Amazing. His second 4-touchdown game of his career. He's like an elite company. I think Sterling Sharp and Jerry Rice, and that happened a long time ago when he was a member of the Bengals. Yeah, you won't get that again. But yeah, if you were on it, good for you. Keep an eye on Kerryon Johnson. He left that game. If he doesn't play this coming week, maybe it just means more passing attempts for Matthew Stafford, who's a takeaway from that game. Kenny Golladay only had 2 targets. It was a little strange. I know, like Rhodes, but you can't have 6 guys on your team having more targets than Kenny Golladay, but it was the Marvin Jones show. Yeah. 10 for 93 and 4 scores. You were on that. Congrats.
Yeah, pretty much.
73 points in that game.
It's funny because I wanted Kenny Golladay because I thought that, that Rhodes would not be a good matchup for him necessarily. I wasn't really worried about Rhodes stopping Kenny Golladay. And I thought that would be a good play because it was a little contrarian. And I was on the right.
Throw his way though. Didn't even throw it.
Yeah, no, never once. No, just didn't. No, nobody cares. But anyway, let's get to some of the big performers. We mentioned Aaron Rodgers, which really was. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was spectacular. There's no doubt about that. So if you had Rodgers, you were loving life. And like you said, Chris, kind of stunning. The ownership just 3% owned. I mean, nobody was on it. Nobody. So
nobody, absolutely no one. And I had a hard time ranking him as a top 12 quarterback, on Fantasy Pros. I was like, I don't really want to do this. I had a radio hit on Sunday morning, a local one in my area, and the host asked me about Aaron Rodgers, and I was just saying this guy's just underperforming. The offense has changed, and they're running the football. They're using both backs now. That is true, but. Yeah, he was really, really good yesterday. 25 for 31, 6 touchdowns, as you said off the top of the show. Impressive stuff. And maybe him and Matt LaFleur are starting to find a little bit of groove now as they got the Chiefs on the schedule this week.
Well, that's certainly going to go well because we all know what's going on with the Chiefs now. Now down to Matt Moore. Oh, my God. It's just brutal. So that's like, what, team number 12 on the year now that doesn't have the same quarterback they started the year with? Right, I think we're up to 12 or 13, probably.
Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, we might get to the halfway point. Really,
it's a stunning turn to events. Like when you think about where we're at with all that. But all the quarterbacks, all the guys that started the year or were supposed to start the year even. But if you just go through the teams, I mean, we could go through them right now, probably off the top of our head. I bet we could figure out who they are because at some point in time, this like the Cowboys have had a starter every time, right?
Yeah.
We all know Green Bay, New England, all those. So let's get to the other one. So
Well, the Jets have had different start. They got Sam Darnold now.
Kansas City has had different.
Yeah.
The Bears have had different. Giants have had different.
The Dolphins have had different.
4. Dolphins are 5. The Saints, because of Breeze, is 6. Then you've got Pittsburgh at 7.
The Jags in there.
Jags at 8. The Washington Redskins at 9. This is fun. This is a fun little game.
It's going to be the Atlanta Falcons, right? We had the Giants, right?
I had them in there. Tennessee Titans. Bucks didn't get a change yet at quarterback, but I mean, like, we're getting close. We're getting very close. And you know what? In all fairness, the Colts, I mean, Brissett was not supposed to be the quarterback this year.
Right.
So
yeah,
we're up to like a third of the league, basically.
And you can make a case for 3 or 4 more getting out of there, like Winston. I don't know if they'll make the change with Jameis, but if he has another 5 interception game, I don't know if Bruce Arians can handle that. And Joe Flacco looked pathetic on Thursday Night Football. Like, do they make the change there at one point? I don't know. Is it eventually going to happen if you're looking at a 2-10 team with Denver? So there's a few quarterbacks, even some that have. They're not going to lose their job like Baker Mayfield, but there's some guys like him that have just been very underwhelming so far this season.
Well, the other quarterbacks have played well. Matt Stafford, who was the youngest to ever reach 40,000 yards, which tells you just how bad the Lions have been in his career. Kirk Cousins, man, oh man, everything's turned right for him. For sure. 4 more touchdowns for him, 337. Jacoby Brissett played a very good game, 4 touchdowns, 326. So really, those were the guys. And then, of course, you got to throw in Lamar Jackson with his, I don't know, how many yards rushing? 116 and a touchdown. That's how many yards rushing for Lamar Jackson. What a game. Talk about a guy just taking over, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the 4th, what was it, 4th and 8, and he found the end zone. They didn't want to kick the field goal. The league's best kicker playing on the road in Seattle. Usually you take those 3 points and they let Lamar run the offense and do his thing. And even Seattle after the game, Pete Carroll talking about how they tried everything to, they practiced this all week and still had no answer for Lamar Jackson. And again, this is an example of his floor. So he turns out 23 fantasy points for you and he has 9 completions and throws, 143 passing yards. But
unbelievable.
But he finishes currently right now, as we head into Monday Night Football, a top 6 quarterback.
Yeah. And Teddy Bridgewater also too, the guy that I really had low expectations for, but he's going to have a job somewhere next year. I don't know where, but he's going to have a job. 281, 2 touchdowns for him. Now, it helps when you have Michael Thomas, but against the Bears, too, maybe the Bears just aren't that good. I don't know. It's
possible, but are you 5-0? You got to say something about that. 5-0, 9 touchdowns, 2 picks.
Unbelievable, man. Yeah. Good for Teddy B. Good for him resurrecting a career. It's a good story. I like good stories. Dalvin Cook's been a good story, too. 25 for 142, 2 touchdowns for him. A great day for Dalvin Cook. I know Leonard Fournette was the chalk of all chalk, and that makes sense because the matchup was so good. You would have wished that he had a touchdown in there. That would have really made a much better day, but he was 49% owned in the Millionaire Maker. So, I mean, that tells you all you need to know about that. But look, he certainly had the day. He just didn't have the touchdown. Chase Edmonds with the 3 touchdowns, that was the game. That was the game to own. If you own that one, it was sky high. And I'll tell you what, I was shocked. Latavius Murray, 27 for 119 and 2 touchdowns from him. Against the Bears, I know Hakeem Nicks is out, but still, my goodness. Did that game shock you? Because it shocked me.
It did. And at one point it was tight and the Saints ran away with it late in the game. And Latavius, he was having a good day. And towards the end, he had a much better day and they put the game away for sure. But I'm not totally shocked on the production. I guess I am because it is the Bears. And you're right. Maybe we're just giving them a little bit too much credit. Defensively, they've been decent, at least against the run this season. But Latavius has had big games like this before when he's filled in last year in Minnesota, right? When Dalvin Cook went down and Jerick McKinnon eventually went down. I mean, 2 years ago, I think. Actually, back-to-back years, and Latavius had solid campaigns. He had a 1 year, I think, in 2015 where he caught 40-plus balls, and he caught 5 balls yesterday. So I've been saying this for a long time. If anything happens to Alvin Kamara, I kind of treat him maybe not the same kind of upside as Chase Edmonds, but with Drew Brees back under center, if there was no Alvin Kamara for a couple weeks, whether that's this week against Arizona or after the bye against the Atlanta Falcons, if Kamara, they decide to sit him out because they can afford to. They have 1 loss. Like I said, Teddy Bridgewater has gone in and did a phenomenal job, and there's nothing you can do because Drew Brees is amazing and you got to put him in there. But if you put him under center and Latavius Murray, you have yourself a top 10 back, and someone we'll be talking about a little bit more, in the second half if there's no Kamara.
Yeah, Josh Jacobs, too, back-to-back 20-carry games for him. That's huge. Okay, he was one of the best values on the board. We talked about him at length on Thursday's show, and another good return from him. So, look, even though I have no idea what the Raiders are week to week,
Yeah.
If I know that Josh Jacobs is touching the ball 20 times, I'm very excited, and we'll see if his price starts to catch up with that. I don't know, but let me tell you something. It was a great value on both sites. I think it's going to be, at least in the short term, a good value there as well. But really, it was a very quiet week in terms of scoring. A lot of the points were scored on defense, and of course, one of the defenses that paid off was the Washington Redskins. Holla! You love it, don't you? $1,700 for the Redskins. Not too bad, huh, Meaney? We did all right. Did we get 8 points, I think, out of the Redskins, right?
Yeah, we take that. We were talking about spending down, and it was a slip and slide, soaky game.
It was gross. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
it was
nasty.
watching on a slip and slide, but
Yeah.
there's nothing you can take out of that game. There's nothing. So
No.
don't nobody out there try to give me, oh, well, you could. No, it
Yeah.
was just a mess. The field was a mess, and
Yeah.
the whole thing was a disaster. But it was entertaining, I guess, and you got that fun little moment where they're all, after the sack, sliding around on the field
great.
turf. That was a good time.
And San Fran, again, there is nothing to take away, and it was sloppy, and it is Case Keenum. He only threw the ball 12 times, but they just improved in terms of their defense against quarterbacks and not allowing anything through the air. Again, we'll see some different tests coming up. Maybe Kyler, they got Russell Wilson. We'll see that in week 10, and then we'll actually see Russell Wilson again week 17. Who knows? That could be for the division, but Rodgers coming up on the schedule, Breeze. So it'll be better tests, stronger tests for San Fran, but their defense is still just so stout. It looks awesome.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of disappointments too, how about Matt Ryan? Can we throw Matt Ryan into that mix?
Yeah, it seemed like every time I was looking at that game, he was on his butt. He was getting sacked all the time. I mean, the Falcons, they quit, and it was obvious that they have quit on their coach now. We've been saying it for a few weeks since they lost at home to the Titans. But
Matt Ryan was still throwing for 300 yards every game, and that was something you could count on and you felt good about. And now he has the ankle injury, and Devonta Freeman's getting thrown out of games trying to punch Aaron Donald.
That's what I mean. You got to fire Quinn now.
Disaster.
Jalen Ramsey did okay. He only he didn't play all the snaps. Julio caught a few balls on him, but that's going to help the defense out a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I want to give Ryan a little bit of a pass because he has been unreal and the line was just awful. This team stinks.
Yeah, and speaking of stinks too, it's a weird week when the receiving leaders are Alex Erickson, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and Stephon Diggs. Okay?
Basically all one catch from a lot of those guys.
Well, yeah, and look, we all know Diggs is good, and he stepped in the void when Adam Thielen got hurt in that game. But still, like Alex Erickson, really? MVS, who's done nothing? And granted, yes, it was the one big catch, and that's what it was. And that's what MVS is good for, so he's a tournament guy. But look, it's all about Michael Thomas. Again, if there's any one good receiver out there, it's Michael Thomas. 9 for 131. You can just always count on him. Good to see Hopkins having a Hopkins game, too. Will Fuller had to get hurt for it to happen. And I'm just glad Will Fuller's not around anymore. Can we all just get an amen on that?
Yeah, and this was the thing about Kenny Stills heading into the season is that you knew eventually, unfortunately, I really honestly don't like to say it, but it was inevitable that he was going to go down. Will Fuller, right?
Every year, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Every year, it's the same thing with him. And I'm curious.
Sorry, it's out several weeks now. So Kenny Stills, I think we can dial up.
Yeah, let's dial up to Kenny Stills, but hopefully DeAndre Hopkins will really want to dial up and get back to what we do best, which is being nuke, please, for the love of God. Austin Eckler, good receiving game, 7 for 118. So Melvin Gordon's been terrible since he's been back. But at the same time, that offensive line has lost a ton of pieces. So we can say Melvin Gordon sucks, or we can say the line sucks, we can say all these things. But the good news is that Eckler catching the football has still been a thing. Like that hasn't changed. And I'm honestly a little surprised that it hasn't.
Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking, too, in this game. I guess maybe they were just trying to get Melvin Gordon going, but they didn't really use Eckler at all in the first half. They got back into the football game because of Eckler, so I think that they should turn to him a little bit more. So 8 targets, 7 catches, as you're talking about in the last game. 2 weeks ago before that, he had the big 15-catch game. He's been catching 5 balls in every single game but 1 so far this season, so maybe they turn back to him. Is another, my goodness, the Chargers, right? It's typical Chargers. Like, can you find another way to lose a football game? It was unreal the way that they lost that game. It is what they do best. And I always say to myself, there's no other way. Like, they can't lose. And it's another way to lose the ball. And on the one, looked like Eckler was going to score. Then they give Gordon the ball on the one, to pound that in, doesn't do it. A second time, fumbles it. It's crazy.
Now, Chargers are and were a paper tiger, and that's what you're seeing. And look, they had so many injuries, and it's not like necessarily the fantasy guys too. It's the offensive line guys, it's guys in the secondary, and that's the thing. When you're missing those pieces, it's hard to win football games. I'll tell you what, Darren Waller was a big positive too. 7 for 126, 2 touchdowns. Nice to see him getting in the end zone for a change too. He's been a very good PPR guy, but this was another guy with a great return on investment. So hopefully you had shares of him. Chris and I talked to him up quite a bit. And really, there's nobody left to throw the ball to. I mean, it's Waller and it's Jacobs on that team, and that's it, man. That is it. And had Derek Carr not fumbled that ball at the goal line there when he's trying to reach out for the pylon, I wonder what this game would have been, maybe, because that was kind of a big swing.
Well, there was 2 plays like that, right? There was that one, and then he threw a pick in the red zone.
There was a couple plays that could have gone another way, and this game might have been a lot wackier, potentially. But it is what it is. It's done. It's in the books. And Darren Waller is looking like an absolute stud at tight end. So we'll see if he jumps up. But really, in terms of targets, in terms of return on investment, it doesn't get much better at tight end than him.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, his price was way too low. We spent a lot of time on him, and it doesn't look like Tyrell Williams is going to be back at anytime soon. So I know they made the trade for Zay Jones, but he was inactive. So Waller's the guy, and it runs through 2 guys, and it's him and Josh Jacobs. And Jacobs left that game for a little bit. Another reason that maybe they could have kept things a little bit closer. Like, he missed a little bit of time with a shoulder injury in the locker room, and he came back and he still balled out. So Waller, great. Keep an eye on the Minnesota guys, because it doesn't look like Adam Thielen is going to play this week. So they have the Thursday night game against Washington. So maybe Kyle Rudolph, as he currently is tight end 4 on the week. Maybe get some Irv Smith in there. Somebody's got to step up as the number 2 option in the passing game again in a really good matchup against Washington. So two solid spots. And then Gerald Everett, who had a touchdown, but also, like, again, Goff missed him on another big score. It's 2 weeks in a row now. He should have 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games. And I know we're frustrated with Cooper Kupp. Maybe teams are just focusing in on him, but it doesn't seem like him and like Goff and Brandon Cooks are on the same page. It just seems like a lot of Woods and Everett lately.
All right. Now, in terms of wagering, we split, unfortunately, the Raiders, as I was hoping they would cover that game. They did not, but Mike did a good job of giving you the Ravens there in that one. So good job. So we're back on track after an 0 for week of the upset special. So good job there. But we got a lot right. We got Tennessee right. We got the Cardinals right. So there was a lot of good things that come out of that show on Friday. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the PreSnap Wagering Show. It's same show, PreSnap. You should just subscribe across the board. It's us here on Mondays and Thursdays talking DFS. And then Friday, it's the Full Out Wagering Show with me and Mike Randall right here on the LineStar app. And while you're at it, make sure you're getting that LineStar app, downloading it, and upgrading to the premium product so you can continue to use all the best tools in DFS right at your fingertips. And we always like to do a little hot take, look ahead at week 8. Next week, no Ravens, no Cowboys, so Lamar Jackson gets a rest from running all over the field. We start Thursday night. Obviously, we got Monday, Thursday. So Vikings hosting the Redskins without Thielen. And we've got tonight, obviously, the Jets hosting the New England Patriots. And the Patriots have had a bunch of problems on offense. No Gordon for this game. They're a team, I think, that has to make a move here. They need an Emmanuel Sanders or an AJ Green or something on that offense because they are struggling right now. So I'm looking for actually a fair amount of Sony Michel in this game. I really think that's going to be a heavy dose of him. They're going to run the football, play defense, get an in-division win, and get out of there. So for me, it's Edelman, it's Sony Michel. And then I want to go to the Kirk Cousins side. I want Cousins, I want Diggs, and Dalvin Cook if you can get him in there. And I think you can do that, and it's not too absurd. And you can, find the second, third string wide receivers on the Vikings, play around with those guys in Thielen's absence because the Redskins can't stop anybody.
No, they can't. That's where I would go for tight end, as I mentioned, with Rudolph and maybe Smith. I would go that way with no Thielen in that game. But yeah, it's hard not to like Michelle and Dalvin Cook for sure. I'm interested to see how involved Jacoby Myers is going to be. He looked pretty fresh in the last game playing out of the slot. And Josh Gordon, as you mentioned, is out in this game, but he hasn't looked the same. Well, he hasn't just looked all that good in general to me. I think he's been battling a knee injury for a few weeks, and he looks a little slow out there. So Jacoby Myers, Edelman, of course, you can always dial up. I think the Jets will keep this close. I think New England won that game, but I think Sony Michel could be potentially in for a big game. But it's such a risky game playing with the Patriots and what they do and guessing which running back is going to get involved. Right? It could be Bolden, it could be James White, Burkhead could play tonight and get a touchdown. You just don't know.
Well, I'm taking my guess. My guess is we're going to go straight ahead with Sony Michel and not get cute. Like I just feel like
that would be the play. For sure.
Yeah, and look, it's the pass defense have been terrific. The number is 10 Do you think they cover it tonight?
I think the Jets keep it close. I think it's a touchdown game. I really do. I believe in the offense being at least a lot better with Sam Darnold under center. I know Robbie Anderson's in a tough matchup, but I think Jamison Crowder will have a few catches. I think Lev Bell will have a few grabs too. I think it'll be a tight game. I really do.
I'll tell you
Because
what,
I'm not sold on the Pats offense right now.
I'm not either. It's the Patriots' ability to score on defense that I think holds this spread.
Yeah.
I actually think they'll be okay with the 10. I think the Pats will actually cover this all right and be fine.
Well, they're due for a defensive score.
Well, that's what I mean. They've scored so much on defense and they've put them in such good opportunities. And it's funny because the worst thing the Jets could have done has been good in that game against the Cowboys, because I think it just popped up on their radar. And what might have been a trap game is not a trap game right now, because the Patriots are fully aware of Sam Darnold and the Jets after beating the Cowboys 2 weeks ago. Or last week, I should say. So, definitely. I think that kind of changed. And the Redskins are awful. They'll go there and they'll get trounced. Minnesota's a tough place to play anyway. Yeah. So I would just load up on Vikings. You got to stack Vikings in that game. I mean, you fade tonight's game if you're playing Monday, Thursday, and you go heavy on the Vikings against the Redskins. The travel, short week, even without Thielen, I think it'll be fine. And like you said, Rudolph and Irv Smith got involved too. So there's a lot going on.
Pats D or Vikings D?
Whoever's cheaper.
Fair enough.
Honestly, it's whoever's cheaper, because I think the matchup is better for the Vikings. So save yourself some cash and try to fit in a little bit extra if you can. All right, let's hot take these games here. The Falcons, the quitters, at home against the Seahawks. This all depends on Matt Ryan's health right now. We'll see what happens. It seems like it's going to be okay. It seems so far like it's trending in the right direction, but it's early yet. So I don't know what we're going to make of this one, but Seattle, is it safe to say for the Seahawks that their home field advantage is done? They almost lost week 1 to the Bengals. Then they've lost to the Saints and now the Ravens at home. Are we done with the whole, you can't win in Seattle nonsense?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. Again,
so does Russell Wilson?
They just don't have that. It's to me, I think it's different because of the defense used to be so vicious a few years ago, right? With the Legion of Boom, and it was so loud and was hard to hear in there. And that's how I felt like they won football games, was really on their defense. And it just doesn't seem to have that sort of effect anymore.
Yeah. And look, it'll be Carson and Wilson, hopefully on the bounce back, but we need more targets going to Tyler Lockett, please. Where are the double-digit days for Tyler Lockett? Really frustrating. Absolutely frustrating.
Wilson doesn't throw the ball that much.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? They need to start again. And you know what? You need to
look
go
at some
there.
of the attempts, 20, 35. He had that big one against the Saints, 50, but they were down 28, 23. Like, it just doesn't throw a lot. And yesterday, obviously, 41 because he was down, but they just lean a lot on Chris Carson.
Yeah, I hear you. Broncos at Colts. Colts playing very well, especially getting Darius Leonard back on defense. The last couple of weeks has been huge. I mean, he was a monster in that game against the Texans. Just wreaked havoc, had the huge interception there at a big moment there. I would imagine that, Philip Lindsay, you could still roll out there, maybe a little Cortland Sutton. But what do you think of the Zach Pascal thing? He's had a couple big games, inconsistent in terms of, week to week. But is this a guy that's starting to reach into your mind in terms of tournament plays, or you think this is just like, hey, it happened, just move on?
Yeah, kind of. I think he's a definite pickup. He was one of the other guys in the top 5. Just again, a strange week. They want to run the offense through Mac, but Jacoby Brissett is another one who's just been so good this season. Very impressive. I believe in Frank Reich. I don't think he's just a tournament play. And, you got Miami on the schedule in week 10, Pittsburgh coming up is an okay matchup. I don't feel like we can count on those games, but you're right. 2 of the last 3 have been solid from him.
Can Ryan Tannehill make Corey Davis a thing?
He already did.
He made him a thing last week. Can he make him a thing next week against the Buccaneers? I say yes, Chris.
I should have pushed more for Davis on the show. You and I talked off air about that, and I sent out a tweet. I was trying to come off of him. I'm glad I didn't. So, 6 catches is the 7th time in his career in the 3 years he's had at least 6 catches. It was a season high, 6 catches, targets. Absolutely. Ryan Tannehill targeted him. He looked his way. He looked A.J. Brown's way. The offense was good. Tannehill was solid. He played a pretty good game. Marcus Mariota has not made Corey Davis relevant, and for the first time all year, he was relevant yesterday. So, I'm intrigued going forward, and it's a matchup against Tampa Bay. Absolutely.
It's a great matchup. It's a great matchup. I even think I might consider Tannehill in this one. I really might.
Sure.
Bucks are terrible. I'm sorry. I can't feel it. Speaking of bad, it's going to be a bad matchup for the Cardinals against the Saints. This one's in New Orleans. look, the Cardinals just don't match up here. They just don't. I don't care how good Edmonds was. I don't care. Just the Saints have been that much better, so I don't know how much there's to see there. And then you got the Bengals traveling to LA to take on the Rams, which should be, again, another easy game. But the way Gurley's been underwhelming, the way Cup last couple weeks has been on this run, I don't know, man. I doubled down on Cup this week, and it didn't work out. I might have to take a break. Me and Cooper Cup might be on a break, Chris. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it, but now would be the time to just do it again.
I know it's the Bengals.
But the Bengals have been decent against slot wideouts. But D.D. Westbrook did have a good game yesterday. It wasn't Chark, it was D.D. who's had the game, and everybody has been able to run all over the Bengals. We said this on the show. Now I believe it's 4 or 5 over 600 rushing yards in the last 3 games against this team is crazy to think about. But Gurley hasn't been all that efficient. So I don't know how much they'll run him into the ground in a game that they're favored by 2 touchdowns. So that'd be an interesting one to break down.
Yeah. And then you got the Eagles traveling to Buffalo to play the Bills. This should be fascinating to watch. See if Josh Allen can air the ball out a little bit. That would be fun to watch. See if the Eagles can stop the run game of Buffalo, which seems like they should be able to. This is a game that I don't have a great beat on from any perspective. So, and the next one is even worse. Chargers, Bears. Good luck, folks. You're on your own. I got nothing. I got no love. Maybe Eckler. I don't know. But the whole thing it drives me crazy. Look, one thing, though, the running backs have had a lot of fantasy points the last couple of weeks against the Bears. So maybe Eckler is the guy to go to. But, man, that line is so bad. I just worry about Khalil Mack just wreaking havoc on that bad line of the Chargers.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. I don't know. Maybe it'll just be a lot of Eckler and Cohen. Doesn't seem like you can trust Melvin Gordon or David Montgomery at this point. And as for that Eagles-Bills game, I will be there. I am slightly worried about the Eagles offense. They need Deshaun Jackson. They need that deep threat. Saw it in week 1. Jackson had that big game. The offense flowed. It was the first time that Carson Wentz has had a deep threat like that. He's just not hooking up with Aguilar. Alshon Jeffrey isn't that type of wide receiver. Goddard is trending up and Ertz is trending down. So, it'll be a tough game that'll be a low scoring game, I think. Josh Allen has it upside to have a bomb with Brown like he did last week. But I think that one right now, looking at that total 43, I'd be shocked if Philly got to 14 or 17 myself.
All right, the Giants at Lions. We'll see what's going on with the running back situation as the week unfolds, but you might actually be able to go back to that Marvin Jones well. Honestly, I know it sounds a little crazy, but Giants are bad. So they're not a good football team. Golden Tate narrative, too. You get Golden Tate coming back, and Tate's been very solid. So I like Tate in this one. And certainly you got to like Saquon Barkley after you saw what Dalvin Cook did to the Lions. You got to like Barkley's potential in this one. Jets at Jaguars. I don't want to comment on this one until we see what Jets team shows up tonight against the Patriots. Panthers at 49ers. This should be fun. You got Christian McCaffrey going up against that big defense of the 49ers. So are you worried at all about CMC against that D?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it is Christian McCaffrey overall. I mean, I will play him. Again, we've talked so much about fading him and how dangerous it is, but that'll be an intriguing matchup. He's gone against the Bucs twice now, and he's had pretty just okay games. Like a couple of receiving touchdowns helped his day against a Bucs team who's very solid against the run. And this San Fran team can generate a lot of pressure at the line of scrimmage. So that'll be a really good one. I'm surprised 5.5. I think that's like a field goal game, a tight game. But yeah, CMC, I'd imagine most of his work will be through the air in that one.
Raiders at Texans, another one where God knows what team's going to show up that week. Just when you think you know what either of these teams are, they change again. Browns at Patriots. So considering how much Baker Mayfield turns the ball over, this is going to be a long day for the Browns. Okay.
Absolutely.
Forget about it. This is the last defense you think you want to see if you're Baker Mayfield. This is the Patriots and Bill Belichick. Talk about confusing him with coverages. And then you got the Sunday night game, Packers at Chiefs, no Mahomes. And of course, the Monday night game, the Dolphins at Steelers. And I think the Dolphins are getting closer and closer to win the football game. They were kind of knocking on the door in the first half there. A little scary there.
Yeah, I know. I thought Ryan Fitzpatrick was going to get it done, and he turned it over. The turning point of the entire game was, I think he was on the 5 or the 10, and he threw the pick in the end zone, and that was the turning point because I think they were going to go up 2 scores at that point. So they're running out of games to win. I mean, week 16, Dolphins and Bengals. There you go.
That's it. Lock it up.
Whoever loses will get the first pick.
The Tua Bowl. The loser gets Tua. So they'll be pulling on all the stops in a must-lose game. It should be awesome. Let me
imagine the game.
I hope if you're Tua, who do you want to play for? The Bengals, or do you want to play for the Dolphins?
I think you want to play for the Dolphins. I mean,
I agree.
It's just, better area. The Bengals are just, you know what? AJ Green, Boyd, Mixon. There are some better weapons, I suppose. Like the future's probably better in Cincinnati, but
yeah, but the
I would go
nightlife is way better in Miami than
exactly.
Cincinnati.
That's what I was saying. That's why
if you want to be at the beach, man, you better hope the Dolphins lose that game. All right, you can follow us on the Twitter machine at LineStar App, at Joe Pisapia 17, and at Chris Meaney. And of course, you can follow us as well at LineStar NFL. If you enjoy the show, give us a 5-star review right now after the show's over because you love us and we're fun and we do a good job here. And of course, we're here for you. So if you ever need us on the Twitter machine, go hit us up for questions. And I think that'll do it for us here on the Pre-Snap. Chris and I will be back on Thursday with your NFL DFS preview show, and Friday, Mike Randall and I will be back with all of our NFL picks. So that'll do it for me and Chris. It's time to break the huddle here on the Pre-Snap, and there's nothing left to do now except sit down, win.
You've been listening to the Pre-Snap Podcast, brought to you by LineStar. Hit subscribe, tell a friend, and stay tuned for the next episode from fantasy football experts Joe Pisapia and Chris Meaney.